Steelers beat the Titans 27-24. It looked like Pittsburgh was well in control of this game. And here comes Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans to make it a game. And they come storming all the way back. And as Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers are going for the kill shot, Roethlisberger throws a ball into the end zone, gets picked off by Tennessee, who now has an opportunity to try and get into field goal range. They do. They've got one of the most clutch kickers in the history of the game. After Adam Vinatieri, who forever was in New England and then finished his career with the Colts. And now you've got Stephen Gostkowski going from New England down to Tennessee, where I'm sure his old teammate is now the head coach. I'm sure these guys must have crossed paths as players. Gostkowski's been clutch. He's been money his whole career. He's had a really bad year by his standards. And he lines up for the game-tying field goal, which is going to take this game to overtime. And as the ball goes up in the air, it just veers off to the right. Actually, as you're watching the video, the flag, which is hanging by the upright, is completely down. There's no wind of any kind. The ball just floats on him, goes right. And as Ben Roethlisberger standing on the sideline, Roethlisberger, you could read his lips. He says, he missed? Yeah, he missed. Believe it or not. So Pittsburgh's the only remaining undefeated team in the NFL. For me, as I'll do my power rankings later in the week, they're going to get the top spot because they're the only undefeated team. But believe it or not, I'm not really sure they're the best team. Pittsburgh escaped, but they did it against then unbeaten Tennessee. I had Tennessee as my number one team last week. I don't think they're that far off. That game could have turned into a tie and a Tennessee win in overtime. Gostkowski misses. Pittsburgh wins. Crazy finish to that game. What'd you think?
I picked the Steelers in that game. I think I was the only one on Friday because I truly believe in the Steelers. I just think defensively, they're solid all around. On offense, they got playmakers everywhere except the tight end position. Problem is that Big Ben still just does his Big Ben thing where he just throws a lot of interceptions at the worst times, but he makes crazy good plays. And like Browner always says, you can't help who's on your schedule. You can't help that they played the Broncos and the Giants and all these other trash teams. But when they finally got a real set competition, they go out and they put a whooping on them in the first half. And to the Titans' credit, and we've all seen this before, that team never quits, man. Like the Titans are just one of those teams that it's very hard to put them away. And yeah, did Gostkowski miss a field goal? Yeah, he did. Not their fault. Steelers win. Steelers undefeated. I believe in the Steelers, but I think next week, when you go from bad game, bad opponent, bad opponent to a good one, and you step up, that's great. But can they do it next week again against the Ravens and really show the country that they're really legit? Because I think they're really legit, but it does sound like both of you guys are not really on them yet. Even though I am. I think offensively, Big Ben's never had weapons like he has now with Johnson, with Juju. Johnson, Juju, Claypool, Connor, like the amount of talent he has right now, it's legit. It's legit.
Come on, man. You can't.
Is this about to be an AB rant now before we even keep going with other games?
No. I think the Steelers are real because I think the Titans are real. And I think despite Gronkowski, whatever his name is, missing again, because remember earlier this year I was looking it up on my phone, he missed 3 field goals in one game to start the year. And everybody's like, oh, my God, this guy keeps missing. They're going to cut him. They kept him. He came back the next week. He won the game. This time he misses the game. That's the kicker's life. But I think the Titans are real. I think the Steelers are real. I'm just not a fan of Ben Roethlisberger. But I think he's had great players before when they had Antonio Brown and they had Le'Veon Bell. Because at one point in time, those were the 2 best position players in the league on the same team with this guy. Because I've never been a fan of him. I always think he's a tad overrated. But nevertheless, they did win the game yesterday. I won't go off on my tangent about.
I'm not trying to say that like the guys now are better. I'm saying he has more now because it's not just AB and Le'Veon, which is like not just. It's a ton of talent.
Right.
But now it's like you got Deontay Johnson, you got the rookie Claypool, you got Juju, you got Ebron, you got Connor. Like all around. Like if one guy's having an off day, Claypool scored 4 touchdowns the other day out of nowhere. Johnson scored 2 yesterday. It's just like it's who's going to step up, and it's someone different every single week. That's what I'm saying.
And don't forget, Le'Veon Bell was a malcontent.
True.
Antonio Brown was a big mouth, and that was not a good team. Now you've got Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his career who wants another shot at the Super Bowl, who can't do what he used to be able to do physically. He's got to be more John Elway at this stage of his career. And James Conner may not be Le'Veon Bell, at least when Le'Veon Bell was in Pittsburgh, but everybody loves that guy. He's a heart and soul player. He's all black and gold. And so those guys may have been better talents, but this is a much better Steeler team, at least through 7 weeks of the season.
What I'm interested to see from this team, the Steelers we're talking about, is can they outscore somebody like Kansas City? Can they go down the Ravens' offensive attack? Because I'm not convinced about their defense. Because, again, what we love about the Titans, we know what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball on you. And whether you stop it or not will determine whether you win or lose the game. And they did that. And so the Steelers couldn't stop what they knew the Titans were going to do. And so I'm just not convinced about their defense.
So I'm convinced more and more by the Titans, though.
Yeah.
Like, the more I watch the Titans, I'm like, okay.
This is for real.
These guys are legit. Ryan Tannehill's legit. Obviously, we all know Derrick Henry, but they have actual like skill position players that are making like plays too. AJ Brown, Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith. Like, I'm more and more convinced every time I watch the Titans, even though the Vikings choked against them. That's just what the Titans do. They come back. They don't ever let you like dominate a game. I'm more and more convinced by them in a loss.
I think Tennessee, this is what I was saying, that they were my number one ranked team last week. And in losing to Pittsburgh the way they did, they don't drop that much. You know, that was like a number one versus a number two, and number two had a chance and lost it at the very end. I'm with you. I like Tennessee also. To me, Tennessee is kind of like the new Baltimore. They're just physical, grind you into the ground as best they can. All right, let me keep going, though, because I know we're going to talk about this all afternoon, but I want to just keep rolling here. Another big game on my radar yesterday. The Buccaneers over the Raiders. So the Raiders a couple weeks ago had a big win against Kansas City, and the question was, are the Raiders legit? And since then, they have not been legit. Tampa Bay lost to Chicago, and most people thought, well, that's a really bad loss, especially because the way Tampa Bay had the lead and the way Chicago came back. Tampa Bay in the last 2 weeks, in beating Green Bay and now completely dismantling the Raiders the way they did on the road, okay? I think Tampa Bay is starting to convince many people that this could be the best team in football right now. A couple weeks ago, nobody was buying that. But after the last 2 weeks, I think Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, and I think at the same time, while New England is getting trashed at home by San Francisco, who 2 weeks ago got destroyed at home by Miami, who has since made a starting quarterback change. I mean, the notion that you can't figure the NFL out is a good one, okay? But for New England to get destroyed while Tampa Bay just keeps on rolling right now, I think there's a lot of people out there that are starting to really think that Tampa Bay is a serious contender. Because again, then you look at what happened last night with Seattle and Arizona and how you thought Seattle was in control of that game and how Arizona storms back and wins the game at the end and ices their own kicker and has to go to overtime. And that's more details coming for those of you that missed it. But Tampa Bay, what a win. And New England, what a tragic loss. Another check mark for Brady over Belichick.
Tampa Bay is exactly what Browner said, right? Like, it's a week-to-week league. You never know what's going to happen, and there's no better example than the Tampa Bay Bucks because they didn't look good against week one, and how many excuses came out? Well, it's week one. There's no preseason. Brady new system, blah, blah, blah. Look really good for a couple weeks. Lose to the Bears. You're like, oh, here, this is not the same Brady. He just gets dominated anytime there's any pressure, and all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, they look great. Ronald Jones is pretty good. Leonard Fournette's good. They did it yesterday with no Mike Evans, who was playing, but I don't even think he caught a ball. So it's one of those things where Browner's point is so spot on that it is a week-to-week league, and it's one of it's one of the seasons where if you're a bettor and you're like, dude, you have to put money on a team to win the Super Bowl right now. Who the hell do you put it on? I have no idea. I don't remember the NFL being so wide open because even the Chiefs, I'm not all that confident that someone can't beat them in the playoffs.
Right.
I'm not that confident in any team right now that you know what, this is the favorite right here. The Seahawks have been even though they win. You're muted, by the way.
So answer your question then. Who would you put money on right now to win the Super Bowl?
Me? Honestly, I just think
if you had to put your money on $100, you had to put $100 on one team to win the Super Bowl. Here's a $100 bill. Bet on one team to win the Super Bowl right now. Who you putting your money on?
Listen, you know who I'm putting my money on. It ain't even up for question. It ain't for debate. The Chicago Bears.
Okay. Bears for Browner. He's all heart.
No. What you mean? I can factually back this up. One, they're the best defense in the league. Two, their offense is coming around. And what has all these teams struggled with? Kansas City, no pass rush. And when Mahomes get pressured, seems to not really have it. Same thing for Russell Wilson last night. Same thing for Tom Brady. Same thing for Drew Brees. Same thing for Aaron Rodgers. How did the Bucs kill Aaron Rodgers? They pressured him up the middle. They got him off of his spots. The only team that's consistently done that every week was the Indianapolis Colts and the Chicago Bears.
Okay, so $100 on the Bears to win the Super Bowl. Alex?
Probably the Steelers at this moment.
Even after what you saw yesterday.
Yesterday convinced me that they can withstand a comeback from a team, you know?
But
the first half was really impressive.
But if they played the Titans again next week, who would you take?
Well, they play the Ravens next week, and I would still take the Steelers next week, which is just it's an equally tough team. Right now, at this moment, I don't trust the Bears' offense enough. I trust their defense enough. As much trash as I talk about Khalil Mack, I trust that defense. I ain't never going to bet money on a team that has David Montgomery and Nick Foles as like their guys. I just can't do it. I know Nick Foles has done it. I just can't do it yet. So Steelers for me right now.
All right, so give me $100, send me into a casino, and say you just get this $100. It's a crazy NFL year. Throw it down on whoever. I'm putting it on Tampa.
One, you won't make any money. And two, you're probably going to lose, dude.
Dude,
not the Saints, huh?
I'll bet you I got a better chance of winning with Tampa than you have of winning with Chicago.
I will say this about Tampa. Either Antonio Brown's going to make that thing and he's going to blow that thing up.
No chance. No chance he blows it up.
Okay.
No chance.
You don't know the power of negativity.
No chance that kid blows it up because he won't last.
Why they bring him in? That's the question.
Because Brady vouched for him.
So who's going to make a bigger difference going toward the end? Le'Veon Bell or Antonio Brown?
Antonio Brown.